how do we prevent burnout as a sustainable handmade business owner? A lot of time, what we are told is that we need to rest more, or you might think you need to be more disciplined, because when we are getting closer to burnout, we are getting more exhausted, we are more tired. It starts to feel like we are lazy because we do not have the motivation to do the work, but it is not laziness. The problem is that we do not have a protective design for our business model to prevent burnout from happening in the first place. We also have to unlearn what we've learned about doing business, because it is massively different, even though people say it's not, when you're running a business on ethics rather than running traditional businesses that can simply just find a supplier and find whatever ingredients or materials you need for your business. At the same time, it is different with handmade businesses in general, because you cannot separate labor intensive work from how you earn an income. When we look at service-based industry, for example, let's say you are a mentor and you do courses online, that is very different from someone that's gonna make, I don't know, let's say handmade lipstick. I know this because I used to design cosmetics. Okay, this was my business before starting Little Eco Me, and there is a massive difference between how I run a handmade business and how I run now a service-based business. And both business model is tiring if we're not careful, but the amount of protective design, as what I call it, around a labor intensive business such as handmade business is very much different, because there is an extra thing that I had to do as a handmade business owner, as a creative, in comparison to now. The most important thing is to notice when burnout is about to happen, because it doesn't happen all of a sudden. Have a look at these signs, and I'm gonna write them here on the screen wherever they are, so you just remember that maybe, probably, you are getting close to being completely exhausted and burned out. You are tired in a way that rest does not fix it. Even though you go and lie down for a nap, making feels heavier than you used to. You don't enjoy making your products anymore, because you feel like you have to make these products just for the sake of getting an income. You feel irritated by small tasks, but you also feel irritated by other people around you, because you are so tired, you don't want to get disturbed all of the time, so you start canceling any kind of fun things that you used to do. It might be related to your business, it might be related with friends. You always feel behind, even though you are doing everything right, or you're working 24/7. Your brain feels foggy and slow, or it just feels like it's running at 1,000 miles per hour, because you cannot just shut everything out. You feel really detached to your business. You might even start resenting your business, and there's no joy of doing it anymore. So these are the signs that you're probably going towards burnout. And you should take this as a sign from your nervous system telling you that your workload and uncertainty are outpacing your recovery. One of the hidden killer is decision fatigue. And what I mean by decision fatigue is a handmade business owner that is constantly making millions of decisions a day. For example, you have to do the pricing, you have to do the marketing, you have to do the posting, you have to be the customer service person, you have to do the emailing. Like, everything is happening at once, and it always feels like it's always constant, and you never have time to actually focus on the thing that you love, like why you started your business, because you enjoy creating specific products. And that is why it's very important to have structured weekdays, because when you have no structure, it just feels like you do not know what to prioritize. So one thing that I always advise is have a structured week where you do not have to do everything at once. So you can have, like, for example, 2 days focusing on content, where you can batch make content. You can even use, if you're on Instagram, use Meta to schedule those content, those posts, so you do not have to be posting every day. At the same time, for example, you focus on, I don't know, if you want to do YouTube videos because you have something very specific that you want to talk about and you want to post it on your social media as well, find that one day during the week that you can make that video and nothing else, and be fully focused. Also, when you're a handmade maker, because you have to post the products that people have bought from you, what I would suggest is you do tell people, like, I only send out L products on Wednesdays and Fridays. So if they bought anything on Saturday, there is no rush for you to be posting it on Sunday because you only send out products, you ship out products on those specific days. This is also important as sustainable handmade business owners because we're not doing the next day delivery thing, which is a whole different topic, but we do more conscious shipping, which is more environmentally friendly. So think about a structured week that is not going to make you more overwhelmed and stress you out. At the same time, if you're using Google spreadsheets, for instance, and you can create checklists. So if you're ticking things off as you do them, is subconsciously telling yourself that I've completed this task, so it will calm you throughout the week. And I'm not just saying that for the sake of saying it. I used to be the kind of person that would try to do everything I can just to seem busy because I wanted to feel like I am doing something, so I'm always busy. But the busyness wasn't taking my business anywhere. And now I prioritize when I make YouTube videos, when I'm writing blogs, I batch make my content, I schedule them on Meta so that I'm not constantly doing everything. And I also have time for myself to rest because before it felt like I never had time to rest. Another important thing is if you want to prevent burnout, you cannot in your financial structure. Your numbers matters, okay? You need to understand the cost of everything. You need to understand exactly how many products you need for a specific revenue. That revenue is going to determine the percentage that you're going to take out of your profit. And also, especially if you're a sole trader whereby you need to take a certain amount of the profit to pay yourself a salary, what is that base salary? What does that base salary look like for you? But you have to know that number and you have to remember the cost of the product. That is why it's also very important, especially when you're a very small business and you're hand making everything yourself. You need to focus on primary products. We call those the hero products, and those hero products are there to help you get the necessary feedback and data from your customers, and then you have your secondary products. So the one thing that we need to remember is that burnout is not about being resilient, okay? It's about creating a core structure, a certain business ethical way of working for you. What does that look like? Because you also need to include rest time. So rest is not something that you put on the side only when you're exhausted or burnout. Rest has to be part of your business model. Let's look at the different fixes that you can apply from today to help you prevent burnout. Fix one, separate creative work from operational work. And you can do that, for example, in a week. You can choose Monday is going to be your creative work, and then Wednesdays and Thursdays is going to be your operational work. Fix two, set a production ceiling. For example, how many orders can you actually physically make in a day or in a month for you to get that specific revenue? You cannot just take any orders because if it's too much, you're gonna overwork, you're gonna be exhausted, and you probably won't be able to keep up. You have to remember as well that when you get a lot of orders that you cannot keep up with, it might just annoy your customers because they're not getting their orders in time. Make sure you fully understand how many products you can physically make in an hour or in a day, because that will help you understand what that looks like in a month. Understand which platform you're going to use. You don't need every platform under the sun. Which platform works best for you? Is it TikTok? Is it Pinterest? Is it Instagram? Is it Facebook? Etc. Therefore, in the future, it won't be so overwhelming because you're trying to do everything at once. Fix three is something that I've seen a lot of handmade business owners struggle with, including me when I was doing my cosmetic, is we need to narrow down the sales channels that we are using or the platform. For instance, you can use Etsy, you can use your own website, or you can focus on using your own website and Instagram shop or Facebook shop. You need to decide which one is best for you and then choose at least two. But don't try to be everywhere at once, especially in the beginning. Fix four is something that we've mentioned earlier, is please include rest as part of your business model. Choose that one day or those hours in one day for you to go and rest. One thing that we need to remember as sustainable business owners is that sustainable growth is a burnout prevention strategy. So we need to put everything in place to prevent burnout from happening from the very beginning. You will feel sometimes like things are not going the way that you wanted, but that's very different from pure exhaustion, very different from burnout. Because sustainable growth is not about continuous expansion. It's more about stability, okay? It's more about what is your enough when it comes to your business instead of thinking of the infinite amount of things that you can get from a business. Because when we build a business model around infinite, that is when exhaustion happens. That's also where unethical practices happen. Growth that relies on constant output, constant availability, and constant visibility is very fragile. Growth that prioritizes margins, systems, and recovery time is resilient. So ask yourself, is your business only getting bigger very fast and probably feel a bit out of control, or does the growth feel safe? To finish off this video, I've created 10 different questions for you to answer yourself. You can pause this video and answer as I ask the question, or you can do it later. Okay, so question 1. By the end of a normal work day, how do you feel? Mostly okay? Can you recover? You're tired but manageable? Drained and behind? Or you just feel empty even before you start? Now, question number 2. Do you know your true cost of your product? Is it just a number in your head, or do you actually have a spreadsheet when you can look at your cost? Question number 3. How often do you feel overwhelmed by admin tasks? Next question. How much pressure do you feel to post on social media? Okay, do you feel a little bit of pressure? Is it consuming your headspace? No pressure at all because you're okay with it. How often do you work during the time that you say you're gonna rest? Or how often do you cancel anything that you've decided to do with your friends or your family because suddenly you need to work? Be honest to yourself about the resting part. When you stop working, do you feel guilty? Because a lot of us do. So just be honest to yourself. When you stop working, how do you feel? How predictable is your income? Do you have an enough number in your head? That number that you know is going to help you pay the bills, it's going to help you live stress free. Number 8 is very important as a sustainable handmade business owner. Does sustainability add extra mental load to your business? And if so, why? How do you handle production? Do you batch make products? Or do you make products when you feel like making products? Or do you make products when you get an order? Is there a strategic production model for making your products, and how does it work for you? And lastly, number 10, do you have a weekly plan that you can follow? Do you have weekly tasks that you can follow, so therefore everything does not become so overwhelming, and then you're just incredibly shattered by the end of the week? And that is it. I hope this video was helpful. I hope it helped you find solutions. If you want more resources, you can go on littleencomi.com. I have written a whole book about all of these to prevent burnout and exhaustion from the very beginning. Not only the content, but I've also put in digital financial calculators and digital questionnaire that otherwise, when you have a small business on a small budget, you wouldn't be able to afford it. However, I've made it in a way that you can access everything within the book. The book itself is £100, and all the QR codes to all the calculators and all the digital questionnaires are in that book. You do not have to pay anything extra. Okay, so thank you very much for listening in, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.